Good morning, everyone. My name is ZoeVermilion, live for the very first time this morning. I can guarantee that. And this is Runners Wanted. We are back from our brief hiatus. We've got two great games to showcase for you this morning. And I keep saying morning because I'm on the West Coast and it's 11:05. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Before we get into the runs, I have a couple of quick announcements to make. First one being our fourth iteration of Fleet Fatales is going to be this November 15th through the 21st. So keep an eye out for that. We'll have a games list and schedule later this month. Community Spotlight on Monday will be at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a spooky game edition for the start of October. Don't want to miss that. And AGDQ submissions are open until the end of tomorrow. So if you want to submit, get those submissions in. Remember that this will be an online event. So if you're worried about having to attend in order to actually run your game, have no fear. Submit at your will. And then the last thing is that Hotfix is funded in part thanks to your subscriptions. Please consider subscribing to support future broadcasts. And without any further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Clove for Tomb Raider Underworld. Take it away, Clove.
Hello, thank you for tuning in. Today I'll be running any percent no prologue skip, which is my favorite category, and I have asked Katarev to come on with me to provide commentary. Hello, Catty.
Hello, that's me. I also run this game, but actually not this category. I run one that is very similar, and one that is literally identical in the second half, but I should be able to provide some insight.
Okay. So are we good to go ahead and start now?
Yeah, just let me know and I will start the timer.
All right, it'll start after we gain control from this cutscene, so I'll let you know. So I do find it's rather cool that I can run this category because, as Katarev said, the second half of this run is exactly the same as any percent, so I'm essentially showing two categories. Time starts right now. So this is the 8th, or is it the 9th? This is the 9th main title Tomb Raider game, the ending of this game's trilogy made about 5 years before the reboots came out. We would do a very short introduction here before we... Oh, stuck in the floor, that's okay. There we go. So, Caddy, would you like to explain a little bit about how any percent would handle the start of this run? And why we do not do that?
Exactly. So the astute can see that we have a category called no prologue skip, because there is actually a skip in this prologue, but it doesn't skip the prologue, it actually skips the first 3 levels out of 6, so half of the game. And the reason for that is that we will actually come back to that level you just saw. And actually for both instances, the exact same map is used, and both level exit triggers are already present. Just this first time, there is a very big level exit trigger that basically forces you to go into the first level, which Clove just hit, so now we're here. But we can actually circumvent that and go to the second level exit trigger that would bring us to the 4th level in any percent, because the jumping mechanics in this game are broken, and so is the crouch, as you can see here.
Yes, that crouch bug allows us to fall through the water very quickly, and if we were on land, it would cancel fall damage.
Which we will also see later, right?
Yes, we will see fall damage quite a bit. Laura does have stamina. She has an invisible stamina bar, which you can kind of pay attention to, but mostly get a feeling for. First thing we're going to do is try to get into this tomb using this turnkey. The 1 week earlier text shouldn't be there. We skipped the cutscene a little bit early, because if you pause a cutscene, it allows you to skip it sometimes several seconds faster than you would normally be able to. So the text is just going to be chilling for a bit.
So this is basically a flashback. The first 3 levels, as I said, kind of lead up to the second half of the game, and in any percent these would be skipped. But you can think of no prologue skip basically as an all levels category.
Yes, like the difference is about 18 minutes to do these first 3 levels, compared to about a 20-minute run for just any percent. You will notice this game has very heavy Norse, what's the word?
Mythology?
It's just very, yes. We do have to get Thor's 2 gauntlets, Thor's belt, and Thor's hammer throughout the course of this run. We usually get 1 piece per major level that we go to.
Yeah, and in fact, we actually enter Niflheim here, which apparently is in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yes.
Of course. So here you can see some small movement optimizations. This game is actually it has a pretty liberal movement mechanics, like wall jumps and everything. It actually allows you to be really creative with your route you're taking, and we actually have found a lot of movement optimizations.
Yeah, that is something I really enjoy about this game. They give you so much freedom of movement. You can wall jump, you can swan dive while you're jumping, which gives you a higher reach. You have a window that you can swan dive, whereas like every other Tomb Raider game where you can swan dive, it's just pretty instant. You have a short window of time to press the shift button, which can give you a higher and longer swan dive, which even in like the creative run allows you to do some really crazy tricks and passing.
Yeah, so we call that a delayed swan dive, and you can see there, it's just that tiny bit higher of a range that we get that allows us to, for example, bypass this short segment here. But the delayed swan dive is basically the main tool we'll be using for most of the glitches, along with grenades, but more on that later. Here, Clove will skip the entire first part of this level by going out of bounds there. Again, using the delayed swan dive to get on top of that collision that she's not supposed to. And now we basically kind of go in reverse for this level, so we're supposed to exit from here later on. Now we just go back to hit the trigger that will allow us to hit the level exit trigger, and then we just backtrack.
You will notice the camera doesn't exactly behave properly. It has a very, very awful camera at sometimes.
Yeah, that's kind of the main challenge when you try to learn running this game, is getting used to the camera. You will never really master it, but you can kind of be prepared for what it wants to do.
And these box puzzles, these are one of the bigger reasons you want to run this game with VSync on. If you have VSync off, these boxes are just going to fly all around the room at any given point. It would be super hard to even get past this part.
Yeah, we generally want to run with VSync on, especially for some tricks later on, again involving grenades, but more on that later. But yeah, generally VSync on, or at least capped at some reasonable amount. As Clove said, if you go too high, then yeah, so does the game. And right here we access the trigger for the level end. So here we get the first artifact of Thor, first gauntlet, and then we're out of here.
And it's points like these where we are doing extended periods of running and walking that we do want to regenerate some stamina. I did some rough calculations of stamina. If you're sprinting, you get about 40 steps before she's exhausted. Swan diving would regenerate about 4 sprinting steps. Swan diving is not that much slower than just sprinting, but is slower overall. So it's something you have to manage just by making sure that she doesn't ever get exhausted during these long stretches. And this ledge is very interesting. You just kind of stagger into it, and then you can jump straight through that rock, straight through the collision.
Speaking of going straight through collision, that will be another thing that we will shortly see. So this is where we previously exited the first water segment, so now we go back in there, but we will not go the exact same way back because there is a small hole in the texture here you can abuse.
Very effortlessly.
Yes.
If you get too...
Sorry.
Go on.
I was just about to say you can literally just swim into that hole. There's not any big setup or complicated trick you have to do. So.
And if you are too far away from the actual level, you'll notice Lara just turns invisible, being too far away from it. And during these swimming parts, I'm not holding my mouse at all. You'll notice that she just kind of floats upwards. So during these swimming segments, you would want to just kind of slowly move your mouse down to keep her going straight. It's a bit of a weird thing that the devs included for her to just float upwards during these swimming segments.
Constantly fighting against this weird camera drift. It's a bit, it takes some time to get used to. And that leads us into...
Didn't mean to do that.
Well, that was a grenade.
That was
And this leads us into this cutscene. Usually we can skip cutscenes, but for some reason this is the only one you can't skip. Even though it is a cutscene, it leads us to the second half of this level, which takes place on a big ship. You can see there. So we just have to watch this. Not quite sure what the creative decision was behind that.
They were really proud of this cutscene. Really proud.
They should have been, yeah. So similarly to the prologue level, you might see this next part, the next level again later on as well. So just in case you want to look out for that. But the general goal of this second part is kind of just to get to the lowest point in the ship, and then we will get out of there again.
This is the first great example of very non-threatening enemies. There are mercenaries on this boat with weapons, but they are not the threat. You want to know what the threat is, are these boxes. These boxes would love to stop you if you bump into them. We don't have to worry about any of these dudes.
To be fair, we also run on the lowest difficulty, but it's not that big of a difference.
Yeah, it's truly not. Just makes you spongier, or they are spongier and they do more damage.
Yeah.
Quite the boring difficulty change. And here's another example of pausing the cutscene to be able to skip it a few seconds earlier. You miss the stormtrooper aim. This dude shoots at you wildly and misses every shot.
Yes, basically just sprays around, and because of plot armor, it doesn't hit. So now the ship is sinking, and we try to not get caught up in that. And we have this escape sequence. And right there, if you're not careful, you can actually pop out of bounds, but not go back inbounds. So thankfully, we avoided that.
I had half a mind to just make a safety save, but...
Living dangerously.
If you are ever in charge of designing a boat, make sure you leave plenty of climbable ladder shapes and valves. You know, make sure somebody could easily escape if the boat is sinking.
And with that, this brings us to the second level, which is Thailand. And there have been some changes in that level, which I think you're probably pretty interested in telling us about.
Yes. So this level, before about a month and a half ago, would take about 5 to 6 minutes in this speedrun category. I was trying to find some sort of new skip or some new strat for this game. I really wanted to find something. So I went on YouTube and I was looking through just random videos that people had posted online of bugs that they found, various issues they had with this game. And I actually found a 12-year-old YouTube video from someone by the name of TI2Ophi. And they had a video of them going out of bounds in the beginning area of Thailand. And I always tried to think that maybe that was possible, but I could never find anything. So by doing the crouch bug, we can walk along the seabed. If you had been swimming at this area, it would push you back because they don't want you swimming any farther past it. So hopefully this takes just one try. But if you maintain the crouch bug over the edge of this playable area, you will actually fall straight through, and you can see the water pushing us viciously towards the middle. This level starts and ends in the same exact place. So by going into this tunnel that we would be going through at the very end, we can actually trigger the end of this level. And I will give credit where credit is due. I was not able to find a consistent out-of-bounds setup. A new runner by the name of Didi actually found a good, consistent setup for that, and I thank him for that very much. So now a level that would have taken about 5 to 6 minutes now takes about a minute and a half. So we don't have to deal with all of Thailand anymore, unless we run glitchless or 100%.
Yeah, Talent used to be by far the most technical level. There were a lot of skips just one after the other, but now we bypass all of that with another skip.
Fantastic. But that should really be a testament to how much there can still be discovered about this game. There's not many people who run this game. Very few of us do actively try to find new strats. A 12-year-old YouTube video allowed us to save 4.5 minutes on this speedrun category. So there's definitely still optimizations to be found. But now we are back at Croft Manor. This is the end-ish area of the flashback before Lara's manor is being destroyed.
So now we just have to clear this basement area, and then we go back to where we started it all. But first, before we do that, we have to carry some boxes, which is very fun in this game because it's very fast.
We love boxes.
Yes.
We will pick up some friends here. I may get 1 or 2 of those. There's one. Hello.
Just coming along for the ride.
Oh. We can be very grateful that Lara just has pure auto-aim. You only have to hold M1.
Yeah, so the combat mechanic or combat system in this game is a bit strange. The auto aim will basically lock onto anything that is remotely close to you, which most of the cases is actually not helpful, except in this very level, because there are a lot of critters, so you basically just hit everything instantly. Close aim is just amazing. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Look at these quick flicks.
When you do want to aim at a specific creature in a group of creatures, it's very difficult. Oh, hello. They just do not stop coming.
To be fair, we don't really care too much about maintaining much health in this level, because we will actually want to be rather low on health later on, because we will do a death warp basically. And before we do that, we just have to open this big gate, which we can now that the pressure plate on the other side is held down.
And you'll notice I was rolling there. If you press shift during certain cutaways and certain pickup animations, it will cut it. It will just cut it off and allow you to proceed, which is a very, very helpful thing for a lot of different parts of this run.
Yeah, you definitely want to remember that, especially for like the last level. There are some very helpful applications for that. But first, technically this fight, but not really.
Yes. So we are going to ignore these doggo skeletons. Hopefully they don't hurt us. Oh god. Alright. Very awkward movement. So I'm going to throw a grenade over there, and I'm going to wall jump against this wall and hit the bottom of that balcony, which gets me the checkpoint for the higher level. It prevents us from having to kill the dogs. We don't have to do any of that climbing. Nice little time save.
And in just a few seconds, you might recognize where we are. And we will, you will probably still go for prologue skip, so to say, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of see what the skip looks like. So again, as a reminder, in the main hall, the entire floor of that main hall is a big cutscene trigger that would, in the first instance, bring you to Thailand, and in this instance would just show the cutscene again. but we can prevent going to that floor entirely, because if you swan dive at an edge, you can kind of get a mid-air jump. And that allows us to jump around the corner and grab the ledge behind it and go straight to the second level exit.
Trying to go for the delayed swan dive. So yeah, if you are watching at this point, this is just the any percent run now.
Exactly.
Oh, where am I going?
Yeah, so in this level there are a few tutorials, like you can learn how to push boxes and grab ledges and whatnot, but we bypass all of those with some nice jumps. And here comes the prologue skip. I mean, in this case it's not the prologue skip anymore. Yep.
Not too difficult of a setup. Definitely takes some practice, but I'm dropping down safely there because if your health is just low enough for you to hit the ground after you skip those cutscenes, she will be dead and you will have to redo going into the office.
So what will we see in Mexico? So first we have a very fun bike ride. Now, the bikes in Tomb Raider are a bit infamous, but I maintain the opinion that the bike in this game is a lot better than the one from 2 games earlier.
Absolutely.
It does take a bit of time to get used to, because it handles very you can kind of get a feel that it's very heavy and it doesn't respond instantly, but it's very satisfying if you get these passages correctly.
Absolutely. They incorporate the motorcycle into the gameplay and the puzzles very well. Something Legend did not do.
Yeah, so this entire first segment is somewhat open worldish, like you can explore a lot of place and do this in a pretty random order pretty much. But what we will do is we will skip getting most of the key items here, or pretty much all of the key items, and go to one of the spots near the next level entry, or next level entry point. And we will kind of get in there without doing any puzzles. And for that we will need a grenade. Because as it turns out, if you hit a grenade while in midair, that resets your fall damage height. Which means if you hit a grenade while in midair and very close to the ground, you cancel all of the fall damage, but just take the grenade damage.
I do think if we were to do this glitchless, this entire puzzle to open the entrance to the Underworld takes about 8 minutes. So this is definitely something you want to go for in glitch runs, even though this is one of the 2 hardest skips in the game. Hopefully we can hit this cat. We did not. Oh, we did? Okay.
Sure.
Sure, that worked.
So here you can see a first instance of grenades boosting us. You can make the jump without a grenade, but it's very tricky.
I am going to make a safety save, just on the off chance that I do fall out of bounds. If you fall out of bounds in this game while playing on PC, I'm not sure what happens with console, your game will crash, which is very unfortunate. First try, woohoo.
Nice, congrats. So yeah, we need a grenade there because to jump back inbound we would take way too much damage, fall damage. Even if you pick up relics that increase your HP, it will be a lethal fall. So we also luckily just get our bike back there by hitting that cutscene trigger, which makes a lot of sense. Just summons a motorbike, and now we're in the second half of Mexico.
The next area is, I guess I would call it interesting. It is the longest puzzle in this game that we are not able to skip yet. We've made progress, but it's just we cannot find a way to skip this next room, so we have to do it normally as you can do it.
It's a long story, but basically whenever we find a way to skip something, then another obstacle pops up.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic gist of this is that there are 4 side rooms, and you need to go into each one of them to collect a stone plate that you can insert in the middle structure that will open up the basement. In the basement, you're supposed to take the motorbike to access the lowest part of the basement, and there you should get Thor's belt, question mark?
Yes.
Thing? Okay. We will not do all of that, but the first half we'll definitely do, so we have to get the 4 stone plates.
Turning each of these statues will open one doorway to each of the rooms. And then we do them basically in order.
Again, these, like the cutscenes where the doors open, you can also cancel them by pressing shift.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of those instances. As same is for picking up the stone plates. When she starts the pickup animation, you can just cancel it, and she will still somehow get the item in her backpack. So that slope there is actually a slippery slope normally, but for some reason if you swan dive on it, you can just walk up normally, which skips a very small climbing part. Which brings us to the first puzzle room, which has an amazing camera.
Nope, she's trying to turn me sideways.
Which is impossible. So yeah, there are 2 points where the camera changes, and so do the controls. So you kind of have to prepare for that. You have to be prepared for that. That's room 1 done. The next room is by far the most difficult, I guess.
It's such a hard reset point for the run.
Yes.
I have nightmares about this room.
After the deadly blades and spikes, the next thing we will do is do 1 roll, and then we get our stone plate. Very well done.
You should see how difficult that is. And there will be more spiders that spawn as we make progress through this room. I do believe if you die in this room, I think it actually increases the amount of spiders that spawn.
The more small spiders will spawn, so we kind of want to avoid dying here, which is not a given.
But I will go for this risky strat, so... Normally you would want to pull that box down. But we did that first try, nice.
Wow. Very nice. Yeah, so on the way back, you're not supposed to get through without the box, because obviously you have less time. But if you're actually good at the game, then you don't have to get the box.
Right, and final room, definitely not a very fun one.
Yeah, so this is the fire room, and there are a lot of these horizontal bars peppered throughout it. And there is a lock-on mechanic when it comes to those things, but in this room, since there are so many of them, we can kind of bypass a lot of these flame throws and just get to the end with 2 hops. And that's all 4 stone plates. Now we just need to clean out all the spiders and put the bike on one of the pressure plates,
Ow.
insert the stone plates, and then it's time for the basement.
I will never get sick of them tackling, though. So good.
So you can see the weapon of choice here is the shotgun, because up close it one-shots the enemies. That's actually also true for the next level, but soon we will get a better weapon than that. But yeah, now the basement will be opened. As I said earlier, you're supposed to take your bike, and actually there is an obstacle you're only supposed to be able to clear with the motorbike because of the increased speed. So you're supposed to jump over a large rock with, where a slope is in front of it, so you're supposed to take the motorbike across that. But as you may be aware by now, the swan dive in this game is very powerful, so you're actually able to clear that obstacle without the motorbike.
Yeah. So at the very, very end of this level is a room filled with poisonous blue Gatorade, what everybody likes to call it. That is where you do find Thor's belt, which powers the gauntlets, which allows you to move certain objects marked with like blue runes. So that is what this obstacle is blocked by. So we would only be able to get back with the belt, but As Katarev said, just getting over this rock with a simple swan dive, we can skip the belt, even in glitchless, because it is just a simple jump over the rock, allowing us to never really have to go back to this room except for 100% or all relics, because all we need is this key right here. And do the short pickup animation for it, and we head back.
Yeah, so obviously since we don't have the belt, we still need to get somehow across this obstacle again, and luckily we can do it with another swan dive. But this one is a lot, finnicker, I guess. Yeah, but no problem.
Definitely.
And that's pretty much Mexico. Now we just drive all the way back. Again, a level that ends in the same place it starts, so ripe for abuse, but we're not quite there yet.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a very common theme for the level to end in a place it pretty much began. If you were able to get into the tunnel to get the key and get out, which you can do, that door would not open unless you have solved the puzzle room. So the only thing stopping us from skipping that room is not having the motorbike with us to get us back. We're going to do an intentional death here so that the bike is spawned in a desirable place and this second pole will behave.
Yeah, for some reason, if you have no deaths coming out of the previous room, Lara will just straight walk off this pole again at the end instead of stopping. Most of the times at least, no clue why. But getting a death somehow fixes that. And I guess this would be a good time to talk about gate skip in Janmayen, because you probably want some quiet time then. Yeah, so this is the end of Mexico. Next we go to Janmayen, which is a Norwegian island, or volcano. And the very first room is pretty well, a rather well-known room in this game, because it has a large tower you can see in the loading screen, and the premise is that you're supposed to climb the tower, and on each level you kind of shift the symbols on it to the correct place, and once you get to the top and all symbols are aligned, you can open the big gate to the next part. But we can actually bypass that because we found a way to get out of bounds, and to do that we actually need to pick up an artifact, or a treasure, which is one of the collectibles in this game. And the pickup animation will push us out of bounds. Once we're out of bounds, we still have to get past the gate. Unluckily, it actually extends into out of bounds. We have to do a jump around it. And we get a mid-air jump, but it's just not far enough to make it to the other side of the gate. So the last bit we actually do with the grenade. And that's what you will see shortly. You also see a fall damage cancel soon, because why not? So you were supposed to drive all the way down, but we can also just drop all the way down.
We get a very short moment to kill these Draugr before the cutscene starts, usually just leaving one. She does have sticky grenades, which is why we can shoot them as soon as the grenade connects. Nice. I was very worried about getting those 2 skips.
Very nice. Yeah, so that's by far the most difficult skip, I would say, in this game.
It definitely took me the longest to learn, yes.
Yeah. So with that out of the way, we're already actually approaching the end of Janmayen, because while this is the second half and you are supposed to have the bike here, which is why this is a longer running segment, in the very last room there will be a big bridge with a lot of big hammers that are supposed to do big damage to the bridge and destroy it. But we will be able to bypass that as well. But this is another place where you would really want to be aware of your stamina, even though you can't see it. You have to get used to some kind of rhythm to maintain good sprinting ratios. And this is that bridge.
I will
And with
do
the swan dive, we can jump around the trigger.
one more save just in case. Oh. We don't need to kill him, we just need to incapacitate him so that he doesn't mess with our setup. And as per tradition, kick him in.
Yeah, so in the cutscene, that Roger is supposed to run towards you, but since we bypass the cutscene trigger, the enemy AI also doesn't activate, so he just stands there and looks at you. And that was Mayan.
I have never completed a run with hammer skip where I have not kicked that Draugr over the edge.
And this is where you might recognize an earlier level again. Hint, big ship. And at this point we have a much better weapon than what we get to choose in the loading screen, because we have Thor's Hammerbow now, because of course. And it one-shots any enemies except for the big trolls later on. So whatever weapon we choose here is really irrelevant.
Yeah, we don't have to kill anybody here, but just for the sake of it. This is the same exact layout minus the boxes and the cargo crates as the first boat level. They did explain it in a cutscene saying that it was a sister ship, but yeah, we know they just wanted to reuse assets.
What?
What?
So that's pretty much all there is. Just run to the end. You don't even have to escape at this time. You just end it here. And that brings us already to the last level.
This level is pretty easygoing right up until the end, compared to like Mexico and Jan Mayen. Just a bit of swimming. We have one gate skip. The dry suit is obviously the superior outfit here.
That is absolutely correct. So first we have this longer, or technically longer, swimming segment. What you're supposed to do is there is a big gate prohibiting you from advancing, and there are these big statues that hold down the chains that shut down the gate. And you're supposed to collect some, I don't even know what they are, stones, I don't know. And yeah, make these statues lift up their swords so you can open the gate. But we can also just not do that and skip the gate by going out of bounds. So for certain horizontal bars or beams, when you re-grab them while you're hanging from them, Lara will gradually clip into the wall they're attached to. And if you, in this case, do like just go in for the right amount, you can actually do the get-up animation a final time and then just drop out of bounds, completely bypassing the gate with some out-of-bounds swimming.
And for anybody wondering, she does have a scuba tank. It is just very tiny and hidden by her weapons. I know many people often don't spot it and they just say, wow, she has massive lungs. So now we have to be very careful here so as to not go up too far or down too far.
Yeah, and so whenever you get too close to a wall, the camera just shoots up like that. And yeah, it can definitely cause some havoc, but you just have to get used to when that happens and how to circumvent it or how to react to it. And now, just some swimming or diving until we get to the next room, where there's also not too much happening in this category. And then some more running, because why not? And then we get... Luckily in this game, or luckily, I say luckily, there are no boss fights. So instead of a boss fight, we actually get kind of a final puzzle, jumping puzzle, so to say. Which is very intense, because there are 2 big skips we do that actually abuse the previously mentioned mechanic where you can skip shorter cutscenes. But more on that later. First, this next room with some very interesting jumps. Again, kind of abusing the auto lock-on mechanic when you jump towards certain surfaces.
We have to hope none of these thralls will throw up on us because they have very vicious throw up that'll knock you down. This is a very simple room for any percent, but if you were trying to get the final relic in this room, it does take a lot more maneuvering and a lot more being careful.
So at this point, we're just running towards the final room, and I guess just to have some fun in this corridor, there will be a lot of enemies, and I guess the intent is that you can use Thor's hammer to clear it all out, but you can also just completely ignore them and run past them. Which obviously is the option we favor.
And a couple more enemies, because why not?
And yeah, then it's time for Out of Time, which is the final chapter. Again, a giant puzzle where while you're doing the puzzle, you're also getting shot at by the game's antagonist, which can cause some very unfortunate deaths. But the basic premise is that there are 3 stone plates we need to smash that are currently locked. And to unlock them, we need to move 3 giant columns because we have Thor's strength. So that's what we'll do first.
Very quick fall damage cancel to get down to the very first one.
So that was the first stone plate that was unlocked. Now we go over to the second one.
If we can shoot him as he is jumping, it'll be a one-shot. Otherwise, we would have to hit him twice.
Because that makes sense. So you can see the fireballs popping in and out. They do cause knockback, so that's not nice. And that can be very bad later on.
We are coming upon the first fast cycle.
Should I be quiet or?
If you'd like to. I feel like you already explained it a bit, but feel free to talk if you want.
Yeah, so we abuse the fact that we can actually cancel that cutscene early, so there the platforms would lower gradually, but as you can see they're still in this weird state where they're kind of coming down, and since we skipped them early we can already grab them 1 cycle earlier, and with some precise timed jumps we can actually grab the sledge 1 cycle earlier. You're usually supposed to just take a ride around the central structure for 1 cycle and then do the jump. And we'll do a very similar skip in just a few moments. But first, the very fun wall grapple.
This is the very final stone pillar to push in. And yes, the wall grapple. I always claim this to be just the only RNG segment in the entire run. Will Natla kill your run? Let's find out. Not this time.
Wow. Yeah, so if she hits you there, it's pretty much a death guaranteed because there is no, ground underneath you. And yeah, we're coming up to the second and final fast cycle skip because we're already approaching the 2 final stone plates we need to smash, so we can also get ready on time.
Time will end when we smash this next stone panel if I make this. I did not make it.
That's fine.
That is fine. You know, it's only like the very final strat, right before the end.
Yeah, luckily, kind of luckily we get a checkpoint just at the start of the skip, so it's not too bad, but obviously still not ideal. Alright.
And that's time.
Very nice. That's slightly underestimated.
GG's.
Slightly. That was a lot of fun. I feel lucky that Shiboba Skip and Gate Skip I got first try, so...
Well, thank you so much for showing off that run. It was very entertaining. I can tell Chad enjoyed it. I know that I did. And I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much for having me and Katarev on. Thank you so much, Katarev.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, so this is Runners Wanted, so there's a question I typically ask after every run. If anyone in chat saw you run this game and maybe wants to try running it for themselves, where would you point them to start, like looking for the routes or like some of the guides? Is there a central location? Is there a Discord or anything like that?
We do have a Discord for Tomb Runner. It is a culmination of every Tomb Raider game. If you go to any leaderboard on speedrun.com for a Tomb Raider game, it'll give you a Discord link. You can sign up for the roles that you want, go to the channel, start asking questions. We have a lot of helpful people, and we would love to see more people run this game. This is not a very popular speedrun, and I do understand it has its reasons, but I think it's so much fun, and I'd love to see more people come on and be a part of it.
Yeah, so if you enjoyed this run, you're watching this maybe on the VOD, just head over to one of the speedrun.com pages for any of the Tomb Raider games, and there'll be a Discord link on the left, if I'm understanding you correctly, and if I remember how speedrun.com works. So yeah, we are going to take a quick break. We're going to get it set up. We have one more run today. It's not going to be Tomb Raider, but it is going to be another fantastic game with a female protagonist. To keep up with the girl power theme for today. So hang tight, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
But didn't know how.
And we are back. I am still ZoeVermilion, and I have traded out the wonderful Clove for the wonderful Karaoke. Going to be showing off Silhouette Mirage, a fantastic game that I did not know about until I received this as a submission for Runners Wanted. So before we get into that, I do just want to briefly remind everybody that Hotfix is funded in part thanks to your subscription, so please consider subscribing to support future broadcasts. I know I would greatly appreciate that. But without any further ado, Karaoke, how are you doing?
Good today. My hands are a little cold, so I'm trying to warm them up by flopping them around and stuff before I start hitting the controller, but I'm pretty good.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. I was having the cold hands, but I definitely get that. It was pretty cold here when I woke up a few hours ago. So yeah, this is a game I'd never heard of until you sent it to me. So, what are we looking at? What are we going to be seeing?
We're going to be seeing an action platformer, kind of side-scroller shooter, kind of almost Contra style, by Treasure. You might know Treasure for like Dynamite Heady, Gunstar Heroes, Ikaruga, Sin and Punishment. This is one of their kind of forgotten games. Despite it did come out in English on the PlayStation 1. Not a lot of people have heard this game, and that is shown by the fact the speedrunning community is a whopping 3 people. Well, 4, because one person did one run, or 1 or 2 runs, but hasn't done since, but majority is just 3 people, so.
Yeah. Well, I guess without any further ado, we can get into it, and as I described this game to Katarev earlier, this reminded me of like anime Mega Man, so.
Mega Man is another good way to put it, so, I will let you know when time is going to start, because we're old style, we do this with SDA timing, so we start at character control.
Cool.
That's also just because when I started running this game, I started running on the PlayStation 1 version, and on a soft reset, you can skip that tutorial. So I didn't want to have to make like complex rules about start on a soft reset so you skip the tutorial, or else it's not going to be timed or anything like that. So, yeah. Viewers might notice this is the any % JP category. I will go into details as to why JP and US are separate categories. And if you're ready for countdown, I am ready to count you down.
I am ready to be counted down, so count me down.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so here, as you can see, here's our little character. Her name's Shina, and she's got 2 sides on her. She's got a red side and a blue side. That's what the Silhouette Mirage side is. Enemies are also categorized into Silhouette and Mirage, and what you do is you have to defeat them with the opposite color than they are. So I'm gonna dodge those bombs that are falling. So these pink enemies, these cupids, they're Mirage types. I need to hit them with Silhouette shots to defeat them. If I hit them with the Mirage shot, I'll just be draining their spirit. Spirit is how they and I do attacks. I have 2 bars at the top. Top one's my HP bar, bottom one's my spirit bar, or mana bar. So as you can see here, I am grabbing my enemies with my hair and punching them to get money. I need to get 900 money before the kind of midpoint, I guess, of the next area. And that is to buy a new weapon.
I noticed that there's no label on the money, so I guess it is just money.
Yeah, there's.
Not
I
any
think
fancy
I think it is literally just the katakana money in this game. Can I grab, please? Okay, I'm just gonna destroy you because you're being very rude. 500 money coming out of here is pretty good. So, 900 money, right? This is Working Designs change number 1 to the US version. In the US version, you only need to grind 300 money because Working Designs changed all of the values of the different weapons you can buy, kind of scaling them to how effective and powerful they thought each weapon was. But funnily enough, the cheapest weapon is the most powerful and only useful one in the game. Because Working Designs change number 2, in the US version, when you shoot your weapon, your spirit drains. This does not happen in this version.
Mm. The good old days of localization mechanics changes.
And Working Designs were notorious for making their games much harder. Kind of in a way to avoid, if you remember in the early 90s, a lot of game companies made their games harder to avoid the rental market. Because games, if you don't remember, in the 90s you could go down to a store and rent video games for the weekend. 800 money, that's good. These enemies here will respawn if I drop them off the screen, so we're just going to reset all the enemies.
What was
Come back up and shoot them more.
What was your go-to? Was it Blockbuster or Hollywood Video?
It was actually a combination. We had both of those in my town, and we also had a West Coast Video, despite me living on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And there was also Franklin Video as well. Between those 4, we had a pretty wide selection of, different things to get. So here's our shop. Here's our secret shop. It's a secret shop because it's kind of out of the way here, and also because it has a level 6 sloth here. Sloth is the name of my weapon. There's, I think 7 weapons, because they're named after the 7 deadly sins.
I was about to say, if it's named Sloth, are the rest of them named after the other sins?
Yes. And as you can see, this guy is very powerful. You should not have a level 6 weapon at this point in the game. It has an auto-fire, but I am using turbo. Turbo is allowed because we like to save our wrists.
Oh, thank you.
The boss. That was a boss.
Hi, boss.
And then here's our first neutral boss. Neutral bosses can only be defeated by reflecting shots back at them or knocking them off cliff. Because for some reason, every single of those walker bosses are by a cliff, so they can just be knocked off like that. Working Designs change number 3, I think we're on. All those walkers have 20 more HP in the US version, because the US version defaults to hard mode, hard difficulty.
Of course it does.
There's a difficulty select you can access via in this version is via debug mode. This is another boss, by the way, and he's teleporting. Okay, I got him. There's a debug mode you can access, and there's like a difficulty select there. And once you access the debug mode in the PS1 version, we notice that it defaults to hard mode. And we're like, oh, okay, that's why things have more HP.
You would think that if very small cliffs are their only weakness, that they wouldn't spawn right next to them. But
yeah, you'd think they wouldn't spawn next to things they can get knocked off on, but. Heading into Area 2 here, and this is just a general change between the Saturn and PS1 versions. There's an extra background layer in this version because the Saturn was really good at 2D sprites.
love the sprite work in this game.
Very good sprite work, very good sound design as well. I do believe some of the sound effects are also used in Mischief Makers, which was made the same year as this game, just on N64.
Was that a Treasure game as well?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I was getting Mischief Maker vibes and I couldn't quite place it. I love yeah. It's a tangent. I loved that game. It was one of my first N64 games.
Very good. Very difficult as well.
Yes.
So here's Samurai Security. I think his name is Periclesis in this version. You can just reflect his shot at him at the start. He always starts off with that attack, and then punch him into the side while shooting Mirage shots at him. He will knock down. If you're playing casually, if you take this fight takes a longer time. The people in the back will start throwing their stuff at you, which is neutral damage. Neutral damage, by the way, on you, and actually on enemies as well, does both spirit and HP damage. So if you get caught up in a lot of neutral damage, it can get kind of iffy. So this is Zohar, and they are like us in the fact that they have two different sides.
Ooh.
So we are just going to try to knock them in the corner so they don't fly around. There, just like that. Just knock them in the corner, grab them, slam them in the ground. After the first barrage of shots, and you just keep repeating, knocking them into the ground, they'll just be stun locked. And that's
very nice.
a very handy way for a lot of bosses that move around to just kind of defeat them quickly. Especially with Zohar, because you cannot steal spirit from them.
So,
which trips you up in the US version. We fight them later, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, what is like the TLDR on the plot here?
I don't know. It's been a number of years since I have read the US version plot, which has, working designs translation, so it's kind of off here and there. Oh, and you're gonna walk towards me again, thank you.
It's my favorite speedrunner answer.
I did try to read some of the plot. I sort of can read Japanese, and I was reading some of the plot when I was going through from my SGDQ commentary to see if there's anything cool in there. And, but the basis that I can remember is you are the messenger of justice. There was a giant apocalypse that separated all of the people on Earth into the different attributes, and they're at war with each other. And you awaken when your shelter's attacked, and you need to go save the world. That's just your mission. That all you can remember. Because I think you have a little bit of amnesia. You kind of got knocked around a little bit when your shelter was attacked. And the Silhouettes and Mirage armies do not want you fixing everything, or they want to use you for their own good somehow. So that's why they're attacking you. Here's a giant gun. Oh, cool. That's really, really good start there. What we want to do here with the giant gun is to destroy the blue bullets that come in. So we just need to stay on our one side and reflect the pink bullets back at it. Working designs change number 5, I think we're on, is that neutral shots do way more damage in the US version. So this gun goes down really, really quickly. Also, it shoots faster because it's on hard difficulty. This might be a 2-rounder if I can get every shot reflected back at it. Oh, that's good. 2-round gun. Very good.
Was the ammunition just other enemies?
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
You're gonna love this next boss. It's a flying catfish girl with tentacles.
I love this. For anyone that's actually wondering, I have not fully watched this run, so all of these reactions are completely genuine. What is happening reaction.
Honestly, one of my best ways to commentate this game, because so few people have played it, I do like pulling in people who have not seen it and just getting their genuine reaction, and she's gonna be mean today and dive down. So this is Dynamis. She's a guardian angel. She has 2 sides, just like we do, and they manifest in her tentacles that get shot out here. Each one destroyed does 40 damage to her. You cannot target her main body, it doesn't do anything. being a little annoying because she left a thing on the ground there. And she's diving again. Thanks. So destroy the tentacles, 40 damage each until her health is down. She can dive like that, and which she is invulnerable, so we just don't want her to do that. And she's being really mean because she's going to do the whole drifty back and charge at me thing.
Her face when she takes damage is so adorable.
The thing about Guardian Angels is they kind of lose their self-control and thought in order to become more powerful. Plot point that comes up kind of later. So all she does is attack us, even though really she just wants to sell us really her pretty flowers.
So she's like Aerith if Aerith was a catfish tentacle monster.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. That tracks.
And we don't want to buy flowers from giant homicidal flying fish, so that's why we defeat her.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be moving on to Area 3 now, after this this man with a glorious nose stares at us.
It's a good life tip. Don't buy flowers from giant homicidal tentacled fish.
Is kind of where the game starts throwing both types of enemies at you at the same time. This little part here is pretty easy at the start. You just don't move left to defeat the enemies, because once you start moving left, the Cupids in the back will start throwing bombs at you, and then you'll have to dodge bombs and the attacks of the enemies. If you continue to the left off of that screen, once it unlocks, there's another secret shop there, but we don't need it because we already have our weapon. There are two viable weapons to use in the Japanese version. Sloth is the one that I'm just more used to. You can also use Pride. The strategy changes a little bit in the first area. You have to defeat the first boss with your level 1 weapon. So it's a little bit slower at the start, but the thing with Pride is it's a kind of a boomerang weapon, so it shoots out and then comes back, so you can do a little bit more damage, and it's a little bit better at juggling enemies. A little bit more opportunity for, I think there are crits in this game where you can like flinch them and stuff. So here, you see crouch dash most of the time. Oh, it's the end of the map already. Wow, I wasn't keeping track. Crouch dashing you're going so fast that you unlock the camera from yourself, so you never have to really deal with the wheel that's behind you. I had some bad luck with the enemies actually attacking me there, which knocked me off a little bit, but...
Is crouch dashing just faster than normal dashing, or...?
Yes, crouch dashing is faster for normal dashing as long as you're going more than, I think it's like 2 screens. That's when it kind of speeds itself up. Other than that, the time wasted in crouching and then starting dashing is a little bit... It doesn't save time there. So this is Paolo. He's cheating. He's a nice guy, but then they put this background up, and he turns into a werewolf and attacks us. But it's just a painting.
Yeah, that's definitely cheating.
In the US version, he's a little bit bugged. You can grab him, slam him into the right-hand corner, and he forgets how to boss. But that doesn't work in this version. And now it's time for the smiley face from Heck. That is a slightly modified quote from the English version where she says, "Who are you? Are you the smiley face from Heck?" But not Heck. So Malachim here, another guardian angel. What you do is you need to change the smiley face part to a color, one of the attributes, and then his body will appear. We go with silhouette because his attacks are easier to dodge. The Mirage side has a homing laser, and you don't have iframes in this game. So a homing laser will just kind of repeatedly juggle you until you get away from it. Yeah, the angels are being sent by I believe it's the head of the Mirage faction to attack you and destroy you, because they don't want you to like do anything to the world, because they know they're all happy that things are fine right now as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly what Muffins just said. This is early Bayonetta. Like, it's Bayonetta, you know. You've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion. The angels in anime are typically the bad guys.
Second fight with Zohar, got lucky there, even though I didn't grab them. They stayed on one side, and I could just and they did that one attack where they slammed their sword into the ground, and I could just stand below them and shoot them until they were done. So even though earlier it said we're done Area 3, now we're done Area 3. It kind of tricks you. Because what Zohar did is hacked into the Nexus transport that Moses, which is that little green-hatted dude, that Moses uses to transport us between zones in the world here. Faster than walking. So here's a cute little town, and we're gonna get hit by a car in the cutscene that I just skipped there. So, this wouldn't be a speedrun without an auto-scroller. And here's our auto-scroller boss. This is Samson.
Boy.
This is Samson. In the backseat is his master Delilah. And Samson here, his hands are his weak point, so we're going to be shooting them while he tries to attack us and gets yelled at for not keeping his eyes on the road and driving. Don't do this at home if you have a driver's license. Don't, like, stick yourself out and try to whack stuff off the top of your car. Please keep your eyes on the road and your seatbelts on. So for every, basically kind of fifth of his HP bar, the car will turn. It has to turn 5 times before the auto-scroller portion is done. We could lengthen this out even more by just taking his spirit away, but that's not fast. In the US version, that Delilah has the best voice acting, because his screaming here at Samson, and also when you, spoilers, you fight him as a boss later, his voice clips are very good. I do run both versions, so...
Are we talking actually good, or are we talking, like, what are we fighting for?
No, they're actually good. Working Designs, despite all of their other changes to games, they had a really good in-house voice acting team. So 50 HP there, the car's going to jump down that cliff, and that locks it into place for going right. It's not going to turn anymore, because it has to be going to the right for the screen to finish. We picked the JP version for Runners Wanted because this is, one, the easier version to play in general, just because of the little additional difficulty tweaks that were made in the US version. And also, I do believe now, this is the easier version to acquire. For the US version have gone up a lot, and the Saturn version has pretty much stayed the same over the past few years. And yes, it is a Japanese version, but it is not too hard to play Japanese Saturn games, so...
Oh, yeah, I was just looking at the prices on eBay, and the PS1 version is like $100, and the Saturn version's like $40.
Has it gotten that bad? Oh man, last time I looked, the US version was like 80 or so. So here's Faust. And he likes to run around a lot, but we kind of got in his face and just shot him down. He's easy, no matter what. You can just grab him out of all of his attacks and punch him down. He has a number of different like shadow puppets he can do, a giant laser, a giant flying dragon, a tank. So now we're back on the main stage of this game show here. And I'm actually turning off my turbo for this part, because it makes this boss a little bit easier. Let's see if I can get this here. Nope, did not get it. Okay, that's fine. Turn it back on now. So what you can do with Sarah here is you can juggle her before she jumps up on that slot machine, because the slot machine just wastes time. She still goes down pretty quickly without it, and is she gonna smiley face me? She's gonna smiley face me. Okay, the slot machine has different outcomes depending on what lines up in there, and that's one of the things that can happen, is attacking you.
Oh no!
It can also summon enemies, it can also summon, give you items, and it can also attack her with a giant lightning bolt.
Real can give you 3 smiley faces in chat. I think he's trying to attack you.
Oh no. But Railkun, guess where we're at now? We're at Soup!
Are we looking for pants here?
Yeah, we were trying to look for clothes, we ended up at the soup store. So, here we need to punch all these enemies into the soup as Delilah in the background is sniffing the soup. We need to keep the soup silhouette colored, because then it makes bubbles that are silhouette colored, and silhouette bubbles, when sniffed by a Mirage person, do, you know, various forms of indigestion, aka HP damage. But when he sniffs Mirage bubbles, those smell good. It's like, you know, when you wake up and you have your coffee in the morning, you just take a big old sniff of it and you wake up right there. That's your spirit refilling. And when his spirit gets to 100, he has a giant nose beam.
Oh, those Folgers ads suddenly make way more sense.
So this is another sort of, I guess, auto-scroller because we're dependent on the enemies spawning on the left side as much as possible. I just do the left side because of muscle memory. It really doesn't matter which side you're on, as long as you just stick to one, because honestly you'll just lose time if you hop between the two sides, because you hop over and the desire sensor knows, and it'll start spawning enemies on the other side.
I'm very curious how you're punching them through the side of this presumably solid bowl without soup leaking out.
Phase distortion?
Schrodinger's
Maybe it's a
bowl.
mirror bowl. Like, you know how like one-sided mirrors you can see through on the one side, but you can't see through on the other? It's like a one-sided bowl of soup. You can go through one side, but stuff can't come out of the bowl.
Ah, so it's like an air mattress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's already down at 44 HP and only 40 spirit. That's pretty good. He has 3 attacks he can do. He can sniff, he can throw salt in the soup, and he can say more. I forget what his voice clip is in this version, but he kind of goes more in the US version. That doesn't do anything. And that just wastes time. So we're just hoping that he sniffs as much as possible.
I feel like this boss was the original Salt Bay. I just want a Photoshop of him into that image now. And yes, I know that meme is not relevant anymore.
Tidge memes. Memes do not get old, they just age like fine wine. Alright, one more sniff with purple bubbles in it, and of course, there's no enemy spawning, thanks. Every sniff does 4 damage, as long as there's one Mirage bubble on the sniff. But the more wait, silhouette bubbles. I got it backwards. Wow, I'm bad. There we go. Except that the more Mirage bubbles he sniffs, the more spirit he gains, so it's unfair. And they'll do 8 damage, and which is also unfair because he has 100 HP, so he'll always be left with 4 HP. So he has to do one more sniff.
Now I want soup.
Soup. It's fall season, so pumpkin soup and butternut squash soup and mushroom soups are like everywhere these days. And I'm loving it, but you know, you can't go wrong with chicken noodle or Italian wedding or even beef stew. I consider stew a type of soup.
I'm a pretty big fan of clam chowder.
Mmm. A good clam chowder that's more clam than chowder is very good.
Yes. Or lobster bisque. I like seafood soups.
Lobster bisque is dangerous for me. I love it, but alarm bells go off after a while.
Oh no.
Little rich, a little bit too rich.
It's very, very rich.
So here, turbo lags the dialogue here, so I turn it off and I just mash button instead. We want to go to the left. This is JP, so we go to the left. That's just the number of dialogue boxes when you go into the giant goat sheep snake here. It only has one dialogue box on the left side in the JP version. In the US version, there's one dialogue box on the right side. Other than that, the stage is exactly the same, it's just mirrored. The special thing about this stage is all the bosses rather. The enemies are still at Mirage types, but the bosses are neutral type. And they're very annoying. So here's the spider. We just want to get caught by his string web here and my button's stuck, thanks. Caught by his string web and reflect the shot back at him, and I like to stay a little bit far away from him so I have time to grapple out of it. He goes down in... I ducked, thanks. He goes down in 3 shots in the US version due to the increased neutral damage, and it takes like 8 shots in this one. If you get lucky and he bounces around a bunch and leaves the colored webs, he can get stuck in one and you can reflect it and that'll do a bunch of damage to him. So now it's time for the worst boss in the game.
What makes it the worst boss in the game?
He's neutral type, so you can't just shoot him to death. He jumps around a lot. There's enemies all over the screen that cause lag. He likes to stand around and break his AI like that. He likes to go into iframes and dodge attacks. He likes to get bounced out of attacks. The enemies also change attributes, so you gotta kind of be on your toes and also change your attribute.
It's a long list. I can see why.
Nope, my angle changed there. No, turn around. Come towards me. Nope. 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 Okay, good. Yes. Nope. Come back. With him is when he does that grenade attack is hope he doesn't do that and he actually stays in place and takes a bunch of damage from the reflected grenades, or that he kind of gets in an AI loop and just shoots at you repeatedly, or he gets in an AI loop and walks towards you while there's other enemies shooting at you and you can reflect their shots at him, kind of like this if this guy was shooting at me, which he's not. There we go. Okay, that was a good time when he just stayed in place, and this should be it. That is it.
Woo!
So that second to last attack that he did where I reflected most of the grenades and he just stood in them and took damage without flinching and getting knocked back, that's what you want, and you can take him down in under a minute if he does that in the corner. Otherwise, I've taken as much as 7 minutes on this boss, and this is... My split name is called This Is Where I Reset.
I can definitely see why. That is a heck of an RNG and obnoxious boss.
My weapon to my level 1 weapon during that segment, because if you lose all of your spirit, you will absorb your current weapon and gain back your spirit. And I don't want to lose my level 6 weapon because I can't get another one. But now we're back to a boss that we can just shoot until they're done. And oh, that was really, really good. Megiddo here, I didn't even get to explain what he does. Megiddo here has a bunch of different silhouette attacks, like that great grabby arm, and he has an iframe. He's an attack where he has iframes where he summons a bunch of enemies that lag the screen, and he can also jump off screen and do one of two attacks. One of them is standing in the background throwing stuff at you, and the other one is coming back on screen, homing as an arrow at you, and you kind of just gotta grab him out of it and punch him out of it. And he has a neutral attack, which is throwing a bunch of roses in your face. And I hate that attack, and I always flinch when he does it because I have lost, a long time ago really, I've lost runs to that attack because he drained my spirit by hitting me with 10 roses at once. Alright. Didn't even get to explain the boss, he died so quickly because he didn't go off screen. We are heading into 2 more walkers here, and we're gonna have some crunchy lag. Alright, I have under 200 spirit, which means if I turned my turbo off, I can't do auto-fire anymore. Because Sloth's auto-fire is only available when you have over 200 spirit. And for everyone that's come in since the start of this, when I explained it, we allow turbo because we like to save people's wrists.
These walkers remind me of Tron Bond for some reason.
I think it's the little cupids in there are kind of like serve bots in a way.
Yeah, I think so.
So if you notice, I'm just trying to shoot them off the edge here because there is an edge over on the side there. We just can't see it because we scrolled it off screen. So we have one walker that's slow, one that's fast. I am getting dangerously low on spirit here. So I might stop trying to knock them off and just work on reflecting on them. It's because they keep stepping on me and doing neutral damage at me. Okay. That's not what I wanted. Ooh, okay. I need to be really careful. I'm gonna switch weapons actually, just in case. What I could do also is take an HP death. And that'll restore my health and spirit to max. And I do kind of want to hold on to my level 1 weapon.
Do not seem to want to cooperate here.
No, they are not doing the straight Gatling gun attack, which is the one I want them to be doing. At least so I can defeat one of them. This is the worst pair of walkers I have had. I totally missed that. I don't want to get caught between them. Oh, and I jumped over that. Okay. Kill me. There we go. We are now safe. I was trying to take an HP death there just so I could restore everything, but they were not cooperating, and but we're fine now. We can just knock them off the edge. So even though my shots didn't do any damage, I'm still pushing them backwards there. Oh, that was a little scary. But we made it through. Usually doesn't go that bad, but they were just not cooperating. So one last trash mob screen here. And here is the one part of the game where crouch dashing is required. That hallway with all the falling rocks, if you don't crouch dash it, you will not go fast enough and you will take damage. Moving into another sort of semi-auto-scroller boss here, after we meet Hal. Hal's the head of the Mirage faction. He monologues at us for a little bit. Before summoning Galgalin here. Galgalin's a 2-headed trash compactor dragon.
That's a sentence I didn't expect to hear today.
And he's got grabby hands. Little grabby hands. What we need Galgalin to do here is we need to feed them enemies food, which is the opposite color of their wings. And we need, in total, they need to eat 10 enemies of the opposite color. And is he gonna grab one more? I'm not gonna let him grab one more, actually. We're gonna try to speed this up. He can grab up to 4 per round. I forced him to grab 3 there to start trash compacting just because he was, taking too long and kind of became uneven in his grabs. So he's gonna be, once he trash compacts those enemies, he's gonna change to Mirage type, and now you defeat him silhouette type enemies. Only 3 enemies can be on screen at once, and if he does grab the incorrect color of what you're aiming for, you can shoot them out of his hands until they start spinning. So we want to keep him eating as evenly as possible, just to save time overall. So we're not just waiting on him to eat 1 enemy.
I'm just hypnotized by the fact that it looks like he's staring at himself from both sides.
It does. That's it. That's 3 enemies. Can we grab another one? Nope. Okay, we're just gonna spin, so we're gonna destroy those, and we're gonna go for 4. The final, 4 on the final phase. That's what you call those things. So 10 enemies. So I've done 6 so far, and I'd have to do 4 on this final phase, or I will need to do a 4th phase, which is no bueno. We don't want that. Please grab. Thank you. Enemies will follow you around, so you just kind of need to lead them to his grabby hands. And he's pretty even. So hopefully I get good spawns. No, one silhouette, 1 spawned. And his AI, I didn't say that before, his AI does go for enemies that are the same color as he is. Please grab 1 more. Please grab 1 more. Thank you. Alright. It's gonna take a little bit long at the end there because he is uneven. That one in the back is just spinning and spinning and spinning. There it goes. But he's got 4 now, so he's going to die this turn. And now we just need to, I'm just grinding out Spirit so I can get back to 300. Now I'm just going to dodge enemies because he won't attack again.
So good at making things spin. He must be part washing machine as well.
Zohar again. Here is our final fight with Zohar in this form here. We're going to be on a 2-minute timer. This is what I like to call kind of the path split of the game. That decides which bosses you're going to be fighting after this point. Now, if Zohar would stand still... Alright, let's slam him down to the ground there, and we got it. Alright, good. 30 seconds within that range before 130 is a good Zohar. Every time you fight Zohar, they gain new attacks. In this fight, they gain that kind of mine, they scatter those mines around, and those reflect Mirage shots, and it can be really annoying if Zohar changes sides. So because we defeated Zohar in under 2 minutes, we're going to be taken to what I like to call the hard path. This path can eventually lead to the good ending of the game. If you, there's another option coming up later that determines that, which we won't be taking, but here is, Sepher Zohar. So Zohar all along was a guardian angel. They were just, their power was just shackled to give them free will. So now that Zohar exploded into math and everything and became a giant robot, we need to take down their whole 5,000 HP bar.
That's a lot of HP.
Yeah, especially when you have 300. At half health, their pants are going to fly off, and start flying around the screen, and also can fly into the back and do giant screen-wide lasers at you.
Terry, you didn't tell me that there would be pants flying off. This is GDQ hotfix.
I'm sorry. But look, see, they're all on the screen in the back, and now lasers, and Zohar's down now. This is also why on the speedrun board we do differentiate with a toggle like turbo used or not, because this boss goes down extremely quickly with turbo. Takes 4 rounds, 4 flips of the colors if it's not using turbo, but we're fine with turbo. Just mark it as yes, and this is how you can kind of tell if it's using a turbo controller or not. So we beat Zohar. They explode into math. They give us some final words. We get one last chance to shop here. We don't care.
I want to learn how to explode into math.
Yeah, this is not a no math run, unfortunately. So
okay
here is the choice coming up here to either save the world or leave it be. We choose to leave it be because it is faster. The next boss coming up has kind of a really easy way to defeat him versus the true ending, good ending boss, which has 2 phases, one of which is a auto-scroller, and is neutral type and is very annoying. And we're fighting Megiddo again here, and he is not being nice. So he's gonna jump. That's his bloody arrow attack where he jumps off screen, and now he's being iframes. All right. So now it's time to show off a new attack, and time will be coming up relatively soon, depending on how good Megiddo is to me. He goes berserk because reasons I'll explain in a little bit here. Being nice so far? Nope. Alright, we're gonna have to shoot him to death. Nope. Come back. I'm gonna actually fall off the edge here, take some damage. Okay, that's fine. I want to get my spirit back so I can just do that attack again. He's gonna fall off the edge? No? Okay. So what I'm doing here is called the Parasite Bomb. Time.
Ah.
What I'm doing there is called the Parasite Bomb. I'm hitting A, B, and C on the Saturn controller all at the same time to do a attack that takes 100 spirit and makes me invulnerable, because Berserk Megiddo has a shield up at all times unless he's attacking and will reflect damage back at you. He goes Berserk because his other half, Hal, absorbed themselves into the Edo mainframe, therefore dying, and you can't have one half without the other, so he loses his mind because he doesn't have his other half. And yeah, that's Silhouette Mirage. This is the bad ending of the game. It has happy music and everyone is happy. The good ending has sad music, and you are, even though you saved the world and returned to the way it should have been before the apocalypse, no one remembers you, and no one notices you around.
I love this cutscene. It's very pretty.
Yeah, the anime cutscenes both here and in the opening, I think it was theorized that they were trying to make this kind of more of a little, they were going to make like an anime to it, or kind of make this into more of a franchise sort of thing, but it didn't really go anywhere, so we just got this really good game.
Still very cute and very, very good run. Thank you so much, Carrie, for showing this off for us today. Now, same question I gave Clove earlier. If someone in chat or watching this VOD later on is interested in picking up this game to learn it, where should they start?
Well, as the community is 3 people, there is no Discord or anything like that. My best recommendation is to watch runs from the SRC, the speedrun.com message leaderboard. I am working on a written guide on just the general path through the game and why we do certain things in the game, because there's really no path through the game, it's just pretty linear.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still working on a written guide to kind of give controls and tips on getting through. It's almost done. I will have it up soon. I just keep getting distracted from working on it. But as I always say, I said this at the end of SGDQ as well, even if you're not going to speedrun this game, please play this game. It's very good. It's very difficult. You're gonna have a tough time getting through it. I make it look easy. But it is a little hidden gem on both the Sega Saturn and the PS1, and it's probably my favorite game of all time on both systems, I'd say. Although the other game I speedrun on Saturn, which we almost did for this show, is also one of my favorite games on Saturn. So
yeah, we can hang on to that one for a future
yes.
episode. I will.
Yeah.
Once you derust, I will be hitting you up for that one too.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you all so much for coming out. This has been Runners Wanted. Don't go anywhere. I have a couple announcements to make, and then we're going to just take a quick break till everyone grabs some water before we go on a raid. But I do want to just recap some of the announcements at the top. Where'd they go? There they are. We have our 4th iteration of Frame Fatales. Fleet Fatales will be November 15th through 21st. We should have a games list schedule up later this month. Community Spotlight this Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern is a spooky game edition for the start of October. AGDQ submissions are open up until the end of tomorrow, so if you haven't submitted yet and you're thinking about doing it, don't forget. Also, we are still looking for, we're taking pitches for shows here on Hotfix to start every other Wednesday in November. If you have an idea for a show and you're interested in running a show on Hotfix, you can send us an email. The email is hotfix@gamesdonequick.com. You can also find that linked on the gamesdonequick.com/hotfix homepage. Send us a show concept and 2 example shows. And if we like it, you might get a chance to do that. And also, both runs today were submitted to me via email through that same website. So if you have any games that you run that have 15 or less runners that you would like to see, you like to showcase on this show, or you have a runner that you know that would like to showcase it, send us an email. I do read them and I do go through them, and if it's a good fit, I put it together like I did today. And then finally, as if you haven't heard enough of my wonderful voice today, I just want to remind everyone that Hotfix is funded in part thanks to your subscriptions. Please consider subscribing to support future broadcasts. I've been ZoeVermilion. This has been Runners Wanted, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.